Alright, so today I'm gonna make a quick video on what I learned during my job hunt post-military. So I got out the military late September and then been job hunting since then. Mainly focused on school because I was doing the computer science program, as you guys can tell from my previous videos. But at the same time, I was job hunting too and putting in a bunch of applications. And I'm now employed now, but in that process of going through the job hunt, I learned a lot of lessons and had a lot of tribulations that I had to go through, a lot of periods of self-doubt and even self-esteem issues just because, I was going months without hearing much back. And I wanted to make this video to go over a lot of the things that I learned during that process. So, the first thing I would say, and this is so important if you're transitioning out, is to have at least 6 months of savings. I was fortunate enough to have saved up a lot during my service, and as a result, I could live pretty comfortably for almost a year. So I had a lot of cushion there. So you definitely gotta have, some sort of cushion there, something, a lump of cash to buy you that precious time. The next thing I would say to do is probably hop on right away to unemployment benefits. Now, I didn't use it myself, but I wish I did. I would have gotten on unemployment just because of how long it takes to find a decent job. It really does take a lot of time, and having that extra cushion for help, I think, is a wise decision. Just because you don't know when you're gonna get that job, it takes a long time. So I would hop on unemployment like right away. This is assuming if you don't have something lined up when you get out. It's a shitty feeling. I'll admit that, to be on it, but in such a difficult time transitioning out and looking for employment, I do think you need all the help you can get. So yeah, so the first thing is to have a lot of savings and then probably hop on unemployment right away. So that's the first thing. Now, let me look through my notes here. I think the biggest lesson I learned, and a good friend taught me this, was to not get complacent. Unless you have a job offer in writing, you don't have a job yet. Do not get complacent. No matter what employer is saying what, no matter who is saying like, "Oh, I got a giant lift up for you," I promise. Do not get complacent until you have a offer in hand in writing. You don't have a job yet. So in my experience, I was talking to one of the organizations, and they said that they made me go through the background check process, the medical clearing process, and said that after the clearing process, like after those two onboarding tasks were done, that I would be able to start and we could discuss a start date. I did both of those things, and then I get hit with, oh, we currently don't have any openings. So in that time that I was doing that onboarding stuff, I stopped applying to other jobs just because I thought I was already set. I could go into a little bit more specifics, but I don't want to put the organization on blast. But essentially, again, I stopped applying to other jobs even though I didn't have an offer in hand. So when it came time for, I thought I was going to get a start date, I get hit with, we don't have positions open at this time, but we'll give you a call when we do. And I was heated. I was really mad because I thought I had a job, good to go, but it turns out I didn't. And I got complacent and stopped applying to other jobs. So keep applying, keep applying, keep applying until you get an offer in hand. And even when you get an offer in hand, you still got to keep applying. I don't think you can say that you're safe until you get your first paycheck at whatever job. You got to keep applying. You got to accumulate multiple offers so that you can have that safety net, that security if things fall through or things don't work out with, one employer. You gotta accumulate multiple offers, and it sucks, I guess. If an employer gives you an offer, then you're like, oh, I'm not gonna take it. But it's just business. This is the game, dude. You have to accumulate multiple offers, and you gotta be ruthless. You gotta be ruthless when finding a job because the clock is ticking. Those savings are gonna eat away faster than you think, and you don't want to get on hard times, on very, very difficult times. So again, you got to be ruthless. Keep applying, keep applying. So, and I'm going to touch more on that in a second. But another thing I want to say is at job fairs, if you're introverted like me, it's not gonna work. You gotta really put yourself out there. I would say job fairs are probably the second best way to find a job. The first way would be, through knowing somebody directly, networking. But job fairs are an excellent way to find a job. And when you go to a job fair, especially one that's huge, you got to talk to every single person at that job fair. Go to every single booth. And initially for me, that was very exhausting just because I don't, like to put myself out there too much. I don't really like approaching people. I'm very to myself naturally, but that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work when you're finding a job. You have to talk to every person that's there. Every employer, you talk to them, get their contact info, have a quick spiel with them, and really cast as wide of a net as possible. Again, job hunting is very serious. Your savings are going to burn up quickly. You need to get on your feet. So when you're at a job fair, no matter how socially exhausted you are, you got to talk to everybody and can cast as wide as a net as possible. Now, and this applies to networking too. When you're at a job fair, you want to be able to get good, and this comes with practice, but you want to be able to get good at figuring out if the interaction is a waste of time or not. What you'll see when you go to a job fair, you'll talk to somebody, and like whatever their organization is offering, you'll find that it has no value to you. So you have to be good at being able to say, "Oh, okay, bye," and moving on to the next. That way you save time instead of dragging out a conversation that's not going anywhere. Like uh, like I'll give an example, right? I went to this one booth that offered jobs for like babysitting or something like that. I didn't know what they were like. I didn't know what they were about prior. So I just went up to them and I was like, "Hey, what are you guys about?" And they said they offer jobs for like babysitting or housekeeping or something like that. And obviously, I didn't want to do that. So the interaction lasted less than like a minute before I moved on to the next booth. So you got to be able to be good at figuring out within a couple of seconds if the interaction is worth continuing or not. And then if it's not worth continuing, cut it off and you move on to the next. But again, at job fairs, you got to be aggressive. Be very aggressive at job fairs. Go up to everybody and shake as many hands and talk to as many people as you can. Now, when it comes to applying, you'll see differing opinions between, oh, tailor your resume to every job, mass apply. And I don't think one used singularly is the optimal strategy. I think the optimal strategy is a combination of both, of mass applying and then tailoring your resume. So when it comes to jobs that you genuinely want, where you're like, okay, this is a job I really want, you got to tailor that thing. You got to take your time to, look at the job description, get those keywords into your resume, tailor it, make it nice and pretty, and have a solid application to put in there. But when it comes to jobs that you don't really care about, you just want to get your foot in the door, maybe it's a really entry level job, you just want to pay the bills. There you got to mass apply. Put the resume out there. Put that resume out there. So it's a combination of both. I think a hybrid approach is the best way. Mass apply for the jobs you don't really care much about. Tailor your resume for the jobs you really do care about. So a combination of both I think is optimal. And when it comes to your resume, specifically on the mass applying um, portion, you want to collect that data, view those patterns. So, if you mass apply with one resume for a week and you get absolutely nothing, you got to make some changes. Look at the keywords, look at your professional summary, and do some tweaks, and just continuously see what resume gets you the most responses. So you got to be very flexible and adaptable to optimizing your resume if things aren't working out very well. An example for me would be I was a medic in the army, so I'd apply to a lot of like clinic jobs and around with the local clinics in my area. And initially, I wasn't getting any responses, so I had to, make some changes, look at the resume and change a couple of things, and it worked. I was getting a lot more responses and landing a lot more interviews. So again, be flexible. When it comes to a job you don't really give a shit about, mass apply for a job that maybe somebody referred to you or a job that you would really want, you gotta tailor that shit. So that's what I'd say to that. Um, and let's see, fortune. Sorry, I'm looking through my notes here. I wrote a lot down. So my personal journey, I originally got a. I started off with a part-time job. I did that for like 2 weeks and then I stopped just because it was not worth it. The commute was very, very long. The job itself was very shitty. So I stopped doing that shit after about 2 weeks. After that, I got a job at one of the colleges in my area, and it was a temporary job, but it was still a step up because it was full-time hours, but it was just temporary. It was for 4 months, and then I ultimately left that job and now into the job that I am now, which is I work for the state of California. So it's a government job, super entry level, but again, just to get my foot in the door to break in with the state. I might make a separate video on how to get a state job if anyone is interested in that. But that's been my journey. That's currently what I'm doing right now. As for future plans, I would really like to work in tech. Again, the job that I have now is a non-technical role, but I would like to work in tech either for the state or for the county. I think, or some sort of government job. I think would be solid, just because there's so many benefits that you get when working for the government, whether it be state or county or city government or whatever. But again, yeah, that's everything I've learned. Don't be complacent. Use a hybrid approach when applying. So a combination of mass apply and tailoring. Talk to everybody at job fairs and network. Again, I mean, I'm sure you hear that all the time, but you got to go to these meetups. I go to a lot of tech meetups and just meet a lot of people to get that mentorship, get that insights into what I need to do to be successful. And yeah, those are the big things. I guess the final thing I would like to say is patience. You gotta have patience, and it's very, very frustrating, going through the job hunt. But ultimately, patience is what you need. I mean, you just gotta have that faith that eventually you're going to win. Eventually, that things are going to work out, and eventually you will land it. It's tough, but you gotta have that patience. And just keep going, because eventually, you will win. I had a good friend of mine who was unemployed for quite a while, I think over like 6 months, but he finally landed a tech job within the state. Very happy for him. Super solid job. But again, he went through those moments of self-doubt and ultimately came through on the other end. So, yeah, very happy for him. So, yeah, that's what I got to say about the job market. When it comes to the job market, I constantly see on LinkedIn that this is the worst job market ever. I don't have much of an opinion on that just because this is my first time actually entering the civilian job market. I joined the army as a 17-year-old, so I never actually experienced a job market. So I have nothing to compare this current job market to. So again, I don't have much of an opinion on that. I've heard differing opinions. I've heard some people say this is the worst job market ever. I've heard other people say that people are going to bitch no matter what time period we're in, and this is not much different from other periods in the past. I've heard different opinions. I don't have an opinion on that. If the job market is cooked, again, all I can say is that the only thing we can do is just continue upskilling, continuing bettering ourselves, networking and learning from people who have done it, and having that patience, and eventually things will work out. But that's my thoughts on job hunting, what I've learned during this process. Looking back, I think it was good for me to have gone through that tribulation. I grew a lot from it, matured a lot from it, and learned a lot about myself. And it was a good experience. Very terrible in the time, but it taught me a lot. So I hope this video has helped somebody. And I don't think I talked about everything I want to talk about because I don't want this video to be too long. But yeah, that's all. Like, oh, interview time. Yeah, let me talk real quick about interviews. So interviews. Uh, I mean, the best piece of advice, like anything, it just comes with practice. One thing I would recommend is at your local employment center is to arrange them to hold practice interviews for you, because interviews is like a skill. You could be the most competent person, but if you can't market yourself in the best way, and when it's time for an interview, you're cooked. It's not going to work. And people are going to bitch and moan that, oh, interviews don't accurately assess the candidate. That doesn't matter. At the end of the day, interviews are part of the process. You're gonna have to go to a job interview, and like anything else, it's a skill. It's a skill that you have to harness, you have to practice, and you have to get good at. You again, you could be the best, but if you can't market yourself in the best way, it doesn't matter. So practice, and I guess the only other piece of advice I would say for interviews is to research the company, research the panel if you can. And I would say what's really helped me was you just got to act like you're that guy. You got to act like you're the one, even when you're not, even if you don't have any. Because I've had interviews where I haven't had any other offer lined up. You have to act like you have 10 other offers. You have to act like it, even when you don't. You have to act like you're the guy, even when you're clearly not. You have to act like you have other offers, that you have other employers that are willing to hire you. You have to act like you're someone of value. Be your own predictor of success, I guess. Even when the evidence leads like points to the contrary, you have to foresee your own success and act like you know you're the guy. So have that belief, but it comes with just having that faith in yourself and just having that, I guess, almost like delusional sort of confidence. But I found that for me, it really helped me in my interviews to have that delusional confidence in marketing myself in the best way. And another thing too, any claim you make in an interview, you have to back it up with some sort of example. If I tell people that I'm highly adaptable, but I don't provide a real world case of me being adaptable, it doesn't really matter. It's just a claim, but with no backing. So that's what I have to say about interviews. That's what I have to say about job hunting in general. Again, I probably, didn't say everything that I wanted to say, but I think this is good enough. And yeah, I'm willing and happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. But that's all I got. Talk soon.